So I've talked about this multiple times in different videos, but now it's the most relevant it's ever been because it seemed like it's actually going to happen now, and that's the prison break of Tartarus. Now let me also point out that I don't know if this is going to be like a full-blown arc. That seems to be the popular opinion here, but at the minimum it seems like this is definitely going to happen and at least have a few chapters dedicated to it. But anyway, let's talk about it and let's break down how we got to this point in the story. So it seems like the war arc probably wrapped up in chapter 295, and if it didn't then it probably wrapped up in chapter 296. So it ultimately wound up with Shigaraki, Spinner, Dabi, and Skeptic with the aid of the near high-end Nomus escaping from the heroes. Afterwards, it's revealed that All For One is still in control of Shigaraki, because at the end of chapter 286, it cuts to All For One in Tartarus, like in his confinement. He says, "I feel it. It's slightly out of expectations, but soon enough. Why would you think that there would be a tomorrow? I won't give you a moment to rest. From here on out, it's still my turn." That's a callback to him taking control of Shigaraki's body earlier in that arc. He's basically saying, like, I'm still in control of Shigaraki here. Then he also says, "My Nomus who know nothing of fatigue, go free my main body." So yeah, that's all but pretty much confirming that this prison break is going to happen, because we know that All For One's main body is in Tartarus. So there's a whole bunch of significance to this, aside from just All For One's body being potentially broken out. So first of all, in story, this is like the perfect time to do this, because it also says in chapter 286 that this sequence with All For One happened later that evening, like the ending of the war. So I guess not even like a full day has passed since things have wrapped up there, meaning that pretty much everyone is still recovering from what had happened. And that goes back to All For One saying, "I won't give you a moment to rest." Like I said, this is the perfect opportunity for him to just go after Tartarus, because like right now, I guess there's essentially no one that can really stop him. I mean, of course, at Tartarus, there is some kind of defense force there. They have guards, they have like automated defense systems and whatnot, but I don't think the odds are good of just that stuff stopping like a group of near high-end Nomus. Like you would definitely need the assistance of like some top 10 heroes or something like that. They're not really available right now. Now, as I've also said, there's major significance to this aside from All For One himself breaking out, and that's because there's other characters in Tartarus that could potentially break out here, and given the circumstances, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen, or it would be extremely anticlimactic if they didn't. Now, the confirmed prisoners at this point, or as far as we know, are Stain, Muscular, Moonfish, Kurogiri, and Overhaul. Now, of all of these characters, surprisingly, Moonfish is more or less confirmed to be showing up in the next couple chapters, because Horikoshi recently said at Jump Festa that Moonfish might be appearing in the manga once more. So considering what's currently happening in the story, it makes sense what he said here. And also just that comment alone strengthens the possibility of the prison break in general. Now, aside from these characters who are pretty much confirmed to be in there currently, there's also the villains who were shown to be detained in chapter 286. So we have Gigantomachia, Mr. Compress, Redestro, and pretty much the rest of the Liberation Army. And then I'm pretty sure Yujiko is in there as well. I think the last time we might have seen him was chapter 283 maybe, and he was like being detained by the cops, so I guess he's there. But also I'm just really not sure if enough time has passed for them to even be put into Tartarus, because like I said, All For One is stating his plan here later that evening. So I'm just not sure if enough time has passed for them to physically be there, but maybe they could be. But even if they're not there, this still means that All For One and the League of Villains by proxy can supplement their forces with the people that are in there already, such as Muscular, Moonfish. They were originally a part of the Vanguard Action Squad. Kurogiri, I mean, he's like the lapdog of All For One and Shigaraki, so it makes sense that he would come back. But also there's that whole like conflicting thing that's going on with him, between him being Kurogiri and him being Shirakumo. Not sure where that's going, because that storyline hasn't been touched on in a very long time. So unless Eri reversed him off panel somehow, it's possible that Kurogiri might return to the dark side here. Also, his warping quirk is super significant and can aid in an easy escape here, which I could totally see coming back into play. And then we have Overhaul. Now, Overhaul doesn't have his arms, of course, but he does still have his quirk factor. So it's possible that All For One might see him and then just take his quirk possibly or something like that. Or he breaks Overhaul out and it's like, hey, come join me, and then does something to like regenerate his arms possibly so that he can, you know, be effective again. Either way, I expect Overhaul to come back into the equation somehow. But the most important person here, in my opinion, is Stain. Like in the manga, when All For One is put into Tartarus, we see Stain like looking at him as he's put away. For some reason, they cut this out of the anime, and that kind of confuses me. Also, later on, Tsukauchi is talking to All Might about having like a potential interview with Stain, but it winds up falling through. This little subplot is also cut out of the anime for some reason. It's like the anime wants you to forget about Stain, but the manga doesn't. But Stain coming back into the equation here opens up so many new doors. Now we have the possibility of him meeting Dabi and Toga, you know, his two biggest stands. I would love to see how they react to meeting Stain and how he would react to meeting them. But the other major significant meeting is Stain possibly meeting All Might. I mean, come on, haven't you always wondered what it would be like if Stain met All Might, like how they would like interact with each other? But back to the main agenda, and that's All For One breaking himself out of prison. So why is he doing this? I've assumed for a while now that he's going to somehow like try to transfer his consciousness, like his soul, into Shigaraki's body, and then I guess complete the process of sending him to 100%, because currently Shigaraki's body is at 75%. And I've assumed this whole long orchestrated plan was for Shigaraki to become the new vessel for All For One, because Yujiko says that like All For One's main problem was the hardware not being able to keep up with the software, meaning that like All For One could have all of the quirks and all of the power that he wants, but his body can't maintain it. And that's where we get Plus Ultra Shigaraki. Now, is that going to happen? Is he completely going to take over Shigaraki? I mean, he's certainly going to try, I assume, but it's possible that Shigaraki might stop him and then overpower All For One, and then Shigaraki takes All For One's quirks or whatever he takes from him, and then it powers himself up and he kills All For One in the process. Those are like the two main possibilities now, but also it makes me think that like, okay, so even if all of this stuff does happen, where does that leave the series? Because Horikoshi also said at Jump Festa that the story is coming to a conclusion soon. So it's like, what's going on here? Is this the last arc? Are they like going to break into Tartarus and then fail, and then the villains get captured there and then the story's over? Or is this like the ending of My Hero Academia with the villains winning possibly, and then Horikoshi introduces a new series? I know everybody hopes that that's the case, and it's definitely a possibility, but it's not confirmed, and it's very likely that Horikoshi could just straight up end the series in an odd anticlimactic way. But sometimes mangakas don't really care about that. There's plenty of series, even just recently, that have ended way before they were essentially supposed to. So I'm not counting Horikoshi out of that. He could just straight up end it, and it doesn't matter if we wanted it to end or not. It's just what he wanted. But anyway, let me know what you think about the possibility of the Prison Break arc, or just the Prison Break in general. What do you think is going to happen? But if you liked the video, please give it a like. Also subscribe if you haven't already, please. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.